Hey guys, I just finished teaching another class and I wanted to hop on here and just make sure that I'm really clear about our expectations for a final paper in a graduate or even just a higher level undergraduate class, because I think you're all capable of it. So let me flip around. All right, hold on. I would like for you guys to ensure that you have 3 things in each section of your paper. One of them needs to be a thesis statement. So let me flip this around. Hold on. Oh, it's not letting me. I forgot it doesn't do that. Hold on. Okay. These are notes from my last class, but I thought that I could use them. So you're going to do your introduction. And a lot of you already have some really great information and some really, really fun topics. That's the beauty of this class, right? So particularly in part 1, where you're kind of looking at the audience, you're doing some analysis. I need you to have a really strong introduction that talks about all of the fun stuff that you just found out. Briefly, kind of summarize. So it can be, a fairly short paragraph, but then I need you to have a thesis statement. And I know I posted about this briefly. So your introduction is going to need to be your story. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm looking at. Sorry about my handwriting. And then top 1, 2, 3. So you're going to have your topic is top. T is for topic. Sorry. Opinion, or your slant, or what you're proving with this paper, and then your proof, and this is how I'm going to do it. All right, one of my students is working on a social media and teens paper. I didn't want to write his thesis statement for him, so I kind of just BS'd it a little bit, but I wanted you to see this. I'm going to go back out a little bit. There we go. All right, social media, teens, and mental health. That's the topic. So social media is terrible for teens. Again, I made this very sophomoric because I didn't want to write his thesis statement for him. So social media and teens and mental health, that's the topic. The opinion, or what he wants to prove, is basically that it's terrible. It is terrible for teens. So that is your topic and your opinion, slant, or what you want to prove. Now, when he gets to where he's going to prove something, it's as evidenced by, for example, he's going to use suicide statistics and, academic research. I mean, he's going to pull something from his academic research to talk about that. Use of time, too much time spent on a screen, and interviews with blah, blah, blah that discuss the negative effects. So you're going to have a really, really, really long dang sentence. And as a writer, that drives me insane every time I have to write a thesis statement. The one for my master's thesis was like a quarter of a page, and that made my brain hurt. So it's going to be long. It's not going to be pretty, and I know a lot of y'all are doing the marketing and the aesthetics. In an academic paper, this is live or die. So, like I said in my other post about this, I did not learn how to write a thesis statement until I was in graduate school. I don't know how I got that far as a writer. Anyway, so I need you to have a really good introduction. Think of your introduction as your hook for your TikTok or your Instagram reel. So you're going to have your introduction. I suggested to the student that he hit it really hard with a example of suicide statistics, and one of them that's just really, really horrible. And I know that I'm a little gleeful about that. I shouldn't be. But if you can get in there and you can say, I don't know, 78% of all suicide deaths of 12-year-olds is directly related to social media use and bullying. That's not a real statistic. But if you can directly do that and go boom as your first thing, and then give a little more information, and then hit me with your boring and long thesis statement at the end of that first paragraph. Chef's kiss. I did a chef's kiss, and you can't see me because I'm looking at the board. But chef's kiss. Now, if you're struggling with writing your conclusion, take that introduction and go zoop, and cut and paste that bad boy at the bottom of your paper. Or just duplicate it. Cut and paste that. And then in here is where you're going to have the bulk of your paper, okay? And this is really important for when you're putting all three of them together. So I would say once you're starting to get everything kind of organized at the end with part 3 and, leading into it with parts 1 and 2, go ahead and just grab that, cut and paste it down here. You're not going to leave it like that. So what I do is I highlight it so that when I'm skimming through it and I'm doing my final edit, I don't miss the fact that I just cut and pasted that bad boy. But if you rewrite this and you rewrite your conclusion to say basically the same thing, but alluding that you've just proven your point, you can very easily and without stressing yourself out, write your conclusion. Okay, since I've got you, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this a little bit, and I apologize. I can't draw, but I do like to scribble. Okay. A lot of you have been completely missing your any citations. It's an academic paper. It's an academic final. And I definitely 100% have to have you using your APA style. I need you to make 100% sure that you are backing up everything you say. If you say the sky is blue, I need to know who said that and why they said it and where it was written. And I need it cited, okay? One of the things that I think I've told you, I was a journalist. I started as a professional journalist when I was like 18, escaped that and went into marketing. But the great thing about being a journalist was that I was taught exactly how to write and write quickly. So, okay, you know what? I'm going to redo this. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Whoops, missed some. Okay, as a journalist, I will go, if I get a really big story. See, the last big story I got was about a doctor. So he ran a charity polo event in this small town that I was covering at the time. So I interviewed, let's just write polo dude. Polo dude. So we've got the polo dude. I researched and I did background, got a little information about him. It was easily available online, so I've got my background information. That's just kind of stuff that I just needed to know. I don't need to use any of that. But then I interviewed the charity head. I interviewed his wife. I interviewed team members. I can't spell or speak, apparently, at the same time. I interviewed the team members, and I interviewed an audience member, somebody that you'd like to come to the game. Audience dude. Okay, we got an audience dude. So I've got all of that. And then I did some research on polo and how historically it's been connected to charity. Because rich people play polo, and rich people like to think that they're doing something for all of us peons and peasants. So I did some research on that. I also did a little work about the statistics of how much had been raised. And there was a report that I got that information from that was on the charity's website. But I can still cite that. Okay, so I've got all of this junk, all of this stuff that I've been working on. So as a journalist, and since this is an 8-week class, I really should have told you this before, but as a journalist, the way we are able to go to a school board meeting, which is awful, but the way we can go to a school board meeting, and then we can sit down and bang out a really, really long and intense and detailed newspaper article about it quickly, sometimes I can do it in an hour, is because we use this method, okay? I've got my interview, so I'm just going to do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I've got my background. I might come up in here at the top of this and just drop in just some background facts. Like facts that, are just facts. Let's talk like the location, for example, of where they played polo. Let's just use that as an example. These are facts that I'm going to drop in, but they don't need sourced. They don't need any references. All I have to do with this bad boy is to really just the facts, ma'am, as they say, okay? It exists. The location is there. I don't need to source that. Okay, so I want to talk about, I've got 3 really good quotes from the head of the charity they raise money from. So 4. So 1, 2, 3. Maybe they're a whole paragraph. Maybe it, said Bob. And I do recommend, as you're cutting and pasting these quotes onto this is just a note page. This is not your formal paper. To go ahead and just drop in your citation. That way you don't have to do it later. So then maybe you've got a quote, just one quote from the wife. And actually, you know what? You want to put that way up here because that's talking about what kind of person this dude is and why he's doing it. So you've got one quote from the wife. Maybe you did another interview or you got some information from the team members. And that's not really that important because they're just kind of talking smack about the other teams that they've beaten. But it might be more important that one of the audience dudes had some information. And then the history of the charity is definitely important. Maybe you got 4 different quotes from that source. And you're going to write that source down. Oops, couldn't see that. Write that source down. And then you're going to drop in some statistics. Maybe you got one right here. And you're going to drop another one in down here. Okay, now that's a mess. And those lines, each one of these is a quote or a paraphrase or something that you've cut and pasted out of a source, okay? Work smarter, not harder. So you've got all this, say you got the statistical information from the charity site and it's right here and, according to their site, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to do your citation here. As of right now, on this electronic piece of paper, you could have 30 quotes or 30 paraphrases that you think are interesting from your research materials. And you haven't done anything but cut and paste those bad boys and put them on there, okay? So they're just there. Now you're going to get over here and you're going to organize them. I think I'm going to do 6, I'm going to do 2, I'm going to do 5, 4, 1. Where did I put the wife? Oh, she's a 2. She's got to go up top. 6, 6, 6. I sound like Monica from Friends. If you know, you know. So you're going to start breaking these out and saying, okay, this is the logical order that I think I want to put them in. All right. And you know what? Hey, I'm not going to use these 2 right here. And you know what? This one was kind of stupid. Or this one right here, I kind of already got the information going up here. I hope I'm making sense. You're getting your information here. You're making a document that has all of your quotes, all of your paraphrases, and all of your citations and resources written down here. So, for example, my student has that suicide statistic. Your suicide statistic, you could have 2 or 3. You could have a whole page with different paragraphs of direct quotes, citations, and paraphrases, okay? I'm just telling you, this is the quickest way to do it. So you've got all of your information. You kind of just word vomit it and cut and paste it all on your page. And then you're going to get it over here, and then you're going to have a nice page. And you can probably just do it on this one, but I keep everything. So I save this phase, I save this phase, and I do another save as. So now I've got a paper starting to take shape. With this paper that's starting to take shape, all I have so far are quotes, citations, I have my resources, I have them paraphrased, and I have direct quotes. That's all I've got here. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to drop my intro. Oh, sorry, I have to hold that up. My intro, and don't forget the thesis statement. My head will explode if there's no thesis statement. And then you're going to go, oh, I've got all these pages and all these papers, and here's the last one. You're going to do your conclusion. And then you've got your reference pages, which you all know how to do. So you've gone from raw material to a word vomit of everything that you kept and thought was interesting for your paper. And then you went through and you organized it into one page, however many pages, not one page, a dozen pages, depending on how long your paper has to be, of just quote, 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 paraphrase. Okay? So you've got that. You're going to drop in your introduction. You're going to come at the very end of your paper and go ahead and drop in a conclusion right here. And then all you have to do is come in between. You've got your introduction. You're talking about teen suicide rates because of social media. You've got your introduction, and then you can just start off filling in the blanks. Connect this paragraph to this one and this one to this one. It is, if you get the basics and you get your research done and you get it cut and pasted and your paraphrases completely done, literally it can take you maybe an hour or two, even at this level of college, to just get it all done and get it all connected. And then, I know we've talked about it, ChatGPT, to make sure your formatting's right and to do an edit. I swear by it. The last few chapters of the book that I'm working on right now, I ran them through ChatGPT before I sent them to my editor, and oh my gosh, my life was a lot easier dealing with my editor after I used ChatGPT just to clean it up. If you do that, make sure that you clear all the formatting. I won't look because I told you to do it, but other teachers will literally have a fit, and sometimes they don't understand that you can use ChatGPT as an editor, and then they'll give you a 0. I won't. So I recommend, I'm going to do it one last time. Hold on. So you've got all of your information. You've gathered all of your information. You all already have your topic, and you've already done your audience analysis. You're going to take all that information and you're going to word vomit that onto a paper. Then you're going to take all that and you're going to say, ooh, I'm going to organize it just like this because that's how my brain works and this is how I want to tell the story. Then once you got all of those, you're going to drop in your introduction. You're going to drop in your thesis. You're going to come over here at the end of the paper and get your conclusion and your reference page going. And then you're just going to go in and connect the dots. Tell the story that connects all of these quotes together and make it pretty and make it formal. And you've got this. I know I'm weird and I apologize for kind of rambling for 20 minutes, but I really felt like it needed to be done. So, and this is my little buddy that I don't know why he's in my classroom. All right. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, please yell.